The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's get out of the zone phone. Ben joining us now. She makes the magic happen for Yahoo Sports. She's coming at us live from Las Vegas. She's the one and only Krysten Peek. What's up, Krysten?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Trying to deal with this heat here in Vegas.
Yeah, we were just there for Big 12 Media Day last Monday, and so we got a face full of it as well. I hope you've been able to stay inside.
It's a dry heat.
Well, it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat, but you guys don't understand. On night one of Summer League, the AC went out for the Lakers Rockets game in the main Thomas and Mack Arena. So there were like 16,000 fans in there. We're like, of all the games, like the AC. But they fixed it. Everything's great. Yes, I am staying indoors or staying in my car with AC for sure.
All right, Krysten, let's talk. Well, we haven't talked to you since the draft. What were your takeaways, especially focusing on what the Jazz did, getting Cody Williams at 10, Isaiah Collier at 29, and Kyle Filipowski at 32?
I think it was a great draft for them, and I do honestly think that next year is still the main focus for the Jazz, and so you're going to see a lot of young guys get a lot of reps this year. And so getting complementary pieces, not necessarily cornerstone pieces for the Jazz and their rebuild, was a good move this year. It wasn't completely super exciting in the picks they got, but it also wasn't underwhelming either. So I think there's some great complementary young pieces. But again, this is going to be another year of rebuild, of getting the young guys acclimated. I think Keontae George is going to have a lot of touches, but I'm excited for Isaiah Collier, in the backcourt alongside Key, because what he did at USC is not who he is as a player. I think the NBA spacing will help him a lot. And we're seeing Cody Williams kind of come alive as that hybrid wing, similar to what his brother did, and doing it at a younger age than what Jalen did for OKC in his rookie year.
It was fun to talk to you leading up to the draft about your mock drafts and how much changes and just wadding up one and moving on to the other just based on how this draft was kind of shaping up. So I guess my question would be, were you surprised by anything, and did it go as you expected there at the last minute?
Yes, I was surprised that Rob Dillingham went 5. I was surprised Zach Edey went 9. He was a top 10 pick, and we're talking about a player who wouldn't even be considered a first-round pick in last year's draft or next year's draft. So that surprised me. I was surprised Dalton Connect fell to 17 to the Lakers. There were a lot of surprises. The only surprise that I think none of us were really surprised about was Bronny James, 55 to the Lakers. That was the only we knew it. We all knew it. We all knew it. Yeah, so that was the only not surprise, but everything else was pretty surprising for this draft class.
I've been impressed with Cody Williams. He did not play well in Salt Lake City. He looked really good in his game 1 in Vegas and even the second half last night. He's big. He's not wide. He's got to put on a lot of weight, but his height really translates. He's got excellent touch around the rim. He's even showing a willingness to take threes. He hit 3 the other night on 6 attempts, which was more than he took. What kind of a player do you think Cody Williams can be? Because I think he showed quite a bit actually already in Vegas.
Everybody is already, in the NBA world, when you talk to scouts, they're already seeing, glimpses of Jaden McDaniels, that 3-and-D style first. And it took Jaden McDaniels a couple seasons before he became that really producing wing for Minnesota. So I think that's a great comp for Cody. You're right. He does need to get stronger, but this is a guy, he's a very, very smart player. He's just a smart kid. He gets it. He understands the game. He understands what he needs to do as a pro. He's a great locker room guy. I don't know if you've caught any of his interviews, but he's just a great kid. So having that sort of young player in the Jazz culture, I think is going to help in the rebuild process. But again, like, this is not the year for Jazz fans to be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be our breakthrough year. I do still think when you're looking at them shopping around Lauri Markkanen and what they know is coming up next year with the Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe draft, the draft next year with AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, those are going to be the drafts that everyone is going to be excited for. And especially with teams in rebuild mode, that's what they're targeting. So this is still going to be like a fun year to see growth for the young players, but this is not the turn the corner, let's get excited yet for the Jazz.
Krysten, you cover these guys all the way through the process, going back with some of them years, obviously. So I'm curious to ask you this question. How much do you read into Summer League specifically? Do you take much away from these games that we're currently seeing?
Yes and no. I think, Reed Shepherd and what he's doing for the Houston Rockets has been very pleasantly surprising for them. So that's a positive. But when you look at Bronny James going 0 for 13 or whatever from 3, like, you just kind of, at the grand scheme of things, that's not going to matter when the season rolls around. You have to look at who was the MVP of the finals of Summer League last year, and it was Isaiah Mobley. And he averaged 3 points in 7 minutes, for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think it's just more of like a benchmark for the rookies to see, okay, this is where they're at right now. This is what their development needs to be at. And I really credit the Jazz for, the first few games getting Keontae and Taylor and Bryce in there to kind of play alongside the new rookies to try to show them, like, no, this is the pace of the NBA game. This is the physicality. This is what you guys need to be at. And I think that's very helpful for these young players coming up. So, you look at it, you take positive, what you want to take positive, and then the negative, you're like, okay, no, this is what we need to work on before the season actually starts.
I'm going to take Zach Edey off the board because we saw your draft night comments on what a reach it was. And he was okay. He's only played one game, so that's the other reason I'm taking him off the board for this conversation. But top 10 picks who you mentioned Rob Dillingham already going to the Minnesota Timberwolves trading up with the Spurs, but that maybe feel like a reach even through what we've just seen so far in Summer League.
I mean, this is going to be crazy, but like Alex Sarr, I feel like has been a little underwhelming. Yeah. And we always have to remember that the bigs, especially making the jump from college or the pros overseas, they need a little bit more time to develop. So, like, I am giving him some grace, but Alex Sarr has been a little underwhelming. Even Donovan Clinton, even though he had that poster dunk yesterday over at Dembona, which was like, that was a long time coming. Those two were chirping back and forth all game. So you love to see that. But I think just this first taste of the NBA, like, they're recognizing that the pace and the spacing is a lot different than at the college or, in Alex Sarr's case, the NBL level. So I've just been a little underwhelmed by those two players. And, a Summer League is kind of like glorified professional pickup AAU game, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, we're going to see the guard play thrive. And we saw that with Steph Castle, the number 4 pick to the San Antonio Spurs in his first game. I think he's going to play again tonight. And also with Reed Shepherd, like I mentioned before. So, Summer League, it's just kind of like hit or miss, but the bigs are definitely struggling, I think, inside the top 10.
Were you able to duck over and see Cooper Flag work out with the national team?
I did not. I got here after that, but I did talk to him afterwards for a story when he won the Gatorade Player of the Year. And, I just asked him, I said, were you nervous? And he said, of course I was nervous. But that once you step into those lines, like, the game just kind of settles and you start to play and it becomes like muscle memory. But Cooper is, he's been familiar with these pros for Team USA now for 2 years. He played at Jason Tatum's camp. Jason Tatum brings in other pros to get up 4-on-4, 5-on-5. And also he was in the gym with Steph Curry last year at his camp. So he said that helped calm his nerves a little bit. But, yeah, of course, you're 17 years old playing up against future Hall of Famers and the best in the game and doing what he did. I think that made a lot of teams excited, especially teams like the Jazz, teams like the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizards that are going to be in a favorable position this year to land him.
Is Cooper Flagg worth flushing a whole season for, or is just this draft in general, if you can get a top 4 or top 5 pick, and I can't believe we're already talking about next year's draft, but is it that quality of draft where it's not, truthfully, if you got Victor Wembanyama last year, you're probably good. We don't know if getting Asar Thompson was worth it for the Detroit Pistons at number 5. What kind of draft are we looking at? Is it more like there are the Chris Bosches and Dwayne Wades at the 4 and 5 in this upcoming draft?
Absolutely. And you asked, is Cooper Flagg worth throwing a season for? 100%. Like he just, every time I see him, he does something different and he keeps getting better and he competes at a high level. And he's just so versatile offensively and defensively. Like, we're seeing the turnaround jumper develop. Obviously, he's a great rim protector. He's crashing the boards every time. So when you're looking for a cornerstone player to build around, he's the guy. And you also have to remember, there are great consolation prizes if you don't land the number 1 pick. And I think that's why so many teams are trying to collect draft picks in this draft, because you've got Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, both playing at Rutgers. You got VJ Edgecombe, who's already put on a show for the Bahamas in the Olympic qualifiers, playing with pros and against pros. And you got Nolan Traore, the next French one coming up in the Wimby wave, the point guard he was just incredible at Hoop Summit, with everybody there saying, this is the best point guard I've ever played with. So when you're looking at next year's draft class, is it worth kind of, having that not so great season and sitting through taking a bunch of L's? Absolutely.
So a cool thing about covering Summer League is you never know who you're going to run into. It's really funny. Like, I was down there and all of a sudden I'm standing randomly next to Roy Williams. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
Roy Williams. So my question to you is, who is the coolest person you've run into so far?
Oh my gosh, that's it. I mean, I talked to Brad Stevens last night. I saw Mark Cuban at their game, playing with the Mavs. The players that I've run into, obviously Jaylen Brown was there yesterday. Scoot Henderson, got to talk to him a little bit. So it's kind of like a reunion. It's like summer camp, and like the players, they're always like surprised. They're like, oh, KP, and I was like I wouldn't be here. Like, you guys know this. I stay in the gym. Of course I'm going to be here. So it's just always fun, like, catching up with them and seeing some of, like the heavy hitters and the GMs and the owners of the team.
I think Reed Sheppard's been the most impressive player I've watched in the Summer League. I've seen. Who else deserves that to be in that conversation? And can Reed Sheppard be the best player from this draft?
Reed Sheppard, I mean, it's going to be tough because he's going to be coming off the bench probably to start the season, which he's comfortable with because that's what he did at Kentucky, because they've got so much depth at the guard position. Houston does. But I thought Terrence Shannon Jr. has really done very, very well for Minnesota. Tristan Da Silva is quietly looking like that hybrid swing 4 for the Orlando Magic and, shooting the ball very well from 3. And I think the best center on the court this week has been Khalil Ware for the Miami Heat, so there's a lot of surprises. I think we're going to continue to see that as the season goes on. But in terms of like rookie of the year runnings, like I don't know who it would be, because right now, just from a skill perspective, 100% it would be Reed Sheppard, or I even think Steph Castle could be the best player out of this draft. But Steph's going to get a lot more touches than Reed. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season goes and what happens at that position. And I already know that Zach Edey is like a favorite right now, but he's got to stay on the court. The durability issues are already a question mark. And, I spoke to him after in Salt Lake City, and I just said, I was like, no hard feelings. Like, I hope you prove me wrong, and I'll happily take that L if he ends up being, this anchored center that gets Memphis successful minutes. But, I went on Memphis radio and I said, I'm sorry, I guess I missed the year that you guys won a title with Steven Adams and Pau Gasol and Zach Randolph. Like, I guess I missed that. And then you go and you draft a 7'4", 300-pound guy, who we don't know how he's going to shape up in an 82-game season. So, but no, I really do hope that Zach Edey pans out and he's awesome for the Grizzlies.
Is there any way for the brawny James bubble to burst without it being a disaster? Do you know, like, is there any chance he gets to have a normal NBA career of any kind?
I don't know. Ben. I've covered Bronny now, you know this, for like 6 years, and I always try to err on the side of positivity. But what he's done in his first 3 or 4 games, it's been bad. And like some of his shots are right there, like they're good misses, and then some of them are like completely off the mark, air ball. Like I feel like the guards, especially here, and this is what he's going to face in the G League and probably in the league, is like they're here to prove themselves. They're like, okay, you're the 55th pick, you got guaranteed money, like who are you? And they're blowing by him. J.D. Davidson yesterday for the Celtics made a point to try to blow by him every chance he got. Like it's just. It's good that it's happening now because I think it's a wake-up call, not only for the Lakers and LeBron, but also Bronny, and that if he wants to play at the level where his dad expects him to play alongside him, he's got a lot of work to do.
He stinks, and it's going to be rough. That's the long and short of it. Krysten, you rock. Of course, you can find her by day covering the Las Vegas Summer League, by night. High roller table at the Wynn, I'm sure.
Definitely.
She's the one and only Krysten Peek of Yahoo Sports. Krysten, you're the best. Thank you.
See you soon.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Our pleasure. So good. Awesome. She's down there in Vegas covering it. Like we said, she's watched all these players for years. She's the perfect person to have on not only before the draft, but now covering Summer League.
I don't want to obsess over Cooper Flagg for 12 months. You know what I mean?
Well, we're not going to do it on this show.
No. I will gladly lean into that after the trade deadline when the Jazz have, 18 wins or whatever it is. We will see. But
it comes back to this. The lottery makes it so stupid to have that conversation for so long.
A year
out.
Yep.
Makes it so dumb.
Yeah, it does. It ends up hurting it.
And then he just set everybody up for disappointment or whatever. And then the poor son of a gun that goes third instead of first or whatever doesn't get a fair shake. Anywho.
We should talk. Hey, did you read James Dolan's comments yesterday?
Oh, we got to talk about that next. Plus, I got to tell you who my new favorite player is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's
you want to do a little NBA segment?
Surely.
Because James Dolan is so funny.
I don't know if he's exactly right, and he's like, oh, this guy's way right on the nose, or if he's just like 10 years behind the conversation. So we need to talk about it.
He's
what it is.
He's exactly right from his point of view.
Okay.
All right, stay tuned. We will get to those things coming up next. But caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. We're going to assign you a golfer. It's the Uinta Major Golf Giveaway. If your golfer wins, you receive FootJoy brand rain gear, top and pants in honor of the Rainy Open Championship. So caller 12 right now, 801-575-9663. More next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What's that? Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you to nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union. Ben, real quick, and then we'll jump into what James Dolan had to say. Can I tell you who my new favorite NBA player is?
Whomst.
Jaylen Brown.
Okay. The video of him courtside?
Yes. You heard Krysten Peek on with us. She said she chatted with Jaylen, actually, down there. But he was sitting next to his girlfriend, who's a WNBA player, and I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Neither do I. And Angel Reese.
Something, yeah. And Angel Reese sitting next to them courtside. And somebody caught this on camera, Jaylen saying, or we think, I mean, it's not exactly a public statement, you know. He says, I don't think Bronny is a pro.
He says, I don't know. I don't think Bronny's a pro, and you can read it because Bronny is the most recognizable lip sync name that there is. You can so easily read Bronny.
I don't think Bronny is a pro. Then his girlfriend says, I think he'll be on the G League team for sure. And then Jaylen Brown says, I don't think so. I think because of his name, he'll be on the Lakers. Hilarious to me that he's saying that out loud, but even more hilarious that we'd be surprised that somebody would be saying that out loud.
Yeah.
And I looked up his agent. He's not a Clutch guy.
No, he's not. He's one of the weirder players. He's very unique as a basketball person. I mean, from his background going to Berkeley, and went to Berkeley because he belongs at Berkeley, not because he played basketball at Cal.
Yeah.
Everyone, kind of hammered Danny Ainge for drafting him 3rd overall, and he's proven to be, he's a finals MVP. He's one of the great draft picks of all time.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's a chess dork. He's got some weird anti-corporation stuff that, he wears Nikes and takes the swoosh off of his shoes.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah,
I like him even more now.
He's a unique cat. He's really he's a different type of guy.
I don't think Bronny is a pro.
I think Bronny's a pretty says it courtside with the camera on him.
Well, how funny was Krysten, by the way, where she was like, well, the only thing I wasn't surprised was Bronny went 55.
Yeah, right. And even, Krysten, to her point, and she even brought it up that she's tried to take the positive on Bronny for a long time and has come on this show and said, I think he's an NBA player, and he has just not shown it yet. And that, again, was the issue. And this is where actually, not to dive too much on Bronny because it's a played-out story, but where Clutch and Adele hurt him, not blaming Adele. But
I am.
Where
she's supposed to be the steady voice.
Reasonable. We got to stop expecting that of anybody who's not.
No,
actually
she's just the mouthpiece. She's who you have on the other end of the phone.
Hello.
How they hurt Bronny, and maybe they helped him because nobody else was actually going to draft him because he's not good enough to be drafted. Clearly. But maybe they should have let him work out some other places and recognize, hey man, you're not close.
Well, somebody needed to tell him to go back to school.
Yeah.
Bronny himself knows he's not close, Ben.
I would hope so, but you know what? I like to think people have some self-awareness, and it's shocking the older you get how few people have self-awareness.
So LeBron has been obsessed with writing his own story his entire career. He thought the decision was going to be this magical moment. He was genuinely surprised that he got the blowback that he did. Because remember the Boys and Girls Club and Jim Gray and the hour-long special and all this garbage? He thought it was going to be this celebrated, write it in the history books kind of moment. And it was in the
exact opposite way he thought.
In a bad way.
Yeah.
He's always tried to create his own, going back to Cleveland, the redemption story. I mean, he's always tried to write his own thing. And he wants the final chapter to be him playing with his son. And LeBron is such a magnetic figure, or I guess such an icon, that he can twist anyone's arm into anything.
He can.
And I feel bad for his son because Krysten said it herself. The whole league is going to line up to dunk on him. The whole league.
Yep.
The whole summer league is lining up to dunk on him. Jaylen Brown is openly disrespecting him. I mean, LeBron might not carry the weight that he once did. I dare you 10 years ago to fall out of line and bag on Bronny James.
Sure.
LeBron, have you drummed out of the league?
Yeah, you're not going to have a media job.
Serious?
You're not going to be welcome in Las Vegas when LeBron owns the Las Vegas NBA franchise. Anyways.
But good for Jaylen Brown. Way to go. All right, Ben, you want to talk about Jimmy Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, what he's complaining about now?
James Dolan wrote a letter to the other 29 governors of the NBA criticizing the league's revenue sharing policy.
And the new TV deal.
And the new TV deal, which is $76 billion, 3 times what the last deal was. Everybody's wearing golden diapers, as Christopher Walken would say. Everyone's in really good shape. I will just read you part of the letter that was shared with ESPN from James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks. The NBA has made the move to an NFL model, which is the first time I've ever heard anyone in sports criticize the NFL model other than how they treat, their individual players. But the NBA has made the move to an NFL model, de-emphasizing and depowering the local market. Soon, your only revenue concern will be the sale of tickets and what color your next year's jersey will be. Don't worry, because due to revenue pooling, you're guaranteed to be neither a success nor a failure. Of course, to get there, the league must take down the successful franchises and redistribute to the less successful. The new media deal goes a long way to accomplishing that goal. And this is a long letter that he writes. He says, these changes drastically increase the challenges associated with attracting and renewing vital sponsorship revenue by creating a particularly unfriendly environment for member team sponsors. Essentially saying because so many games are nationally televised and can be seen nationally, local sponsors aren't going to get that priority of advertising space because when national broadcasts come in, you don't see the superimposed local peach doors and windows sponsorship on the floor. You're going to see whatever the national Allstate insurance or whatever sponsorship is, and it's going to hurt the local sponsors. Also, it's really going to kill the regional sports networks like Root Sports or whatever, Bally, because so many games are on national TV, either streaming or otherwise.
In fact, this quote I'll just throw in real quick, Ben, as you're paraphrasing a much longer statement. But he does say the inclusion of streaming partners in the proposed Amazon Prime Peacock allows fans in all NBA markets to bypass their RSN, Regional Sports Network, to watch certain games in their local market. The proposal offers no local protection for RSNs. All right, Ben. There are several things that I find hilarious about this. First of all, do you have any idea, and I know you do, who the RSN is for the New York Knicks?
Is it the Yes Network or is it Madison Square Garden? It's Madison Square Garden. There's two huge RSNs in New York. The Madison Square Company, which Madison Square Entertainment owns the Sphere, obviously owns Madison Square Garden, and it's owned by Mr.
James Dolan.
And the Yes Network does the Yankees and everything like that.
You know who else hates this new TV deal? The president of AT&T Sportsnet or whatever.
Yeah, Root Sports.
Yeah, they all hate this.
Yeah.
But it's because their business model died. Not as dying, but died. Like it's gone. I mean, it's already gone for the Jazz. It's already gone for the Clippers. It's already gone for the Suns. It's already gone for like at least half the league, right? And it's not coming back.
No, they're not getting closer. They're getting further.
But he owns one of those.
He owns MSG Network.
He owns that. And so you're telling me the guy who owns the Regional Sports Network is complaining about the new deal that de-emphasizes Regional Sports Network? Well, get out of town. But you know whose problem that isn't? Ryan Smith's.
Sure.
Or Steve Ballmer's or whatever.
And beyond that, there is a difference between owning a regional sports network in New York City and owning a regional sports network in Charlotte.
Absolutely. And it's why the model is not going to exist anymore. And the NBA is pooling the product and making it easier to access, kind of.
And whoever has bought the Charlotte Hornets now from Michael Jordan doesn't care about their regional sports network.
No, it doesn't make a difference anymore.
And in fact, the people who were running the regional sports network in Charlotte, they closed the doors.
Right.
The same reason AT&T Sports here is closing the doors. It was not profitable.
It was not.
You
And
couldn't
not even
make
close.
money on doing it.
And it was the only thing programming on some of those networks. And now where James Dolan is right is that was a huge advantage for the New York Knicks.
Yes.
Now, this is my favorite quote of this, Ben. He goes, "Don't worry, because due to revenue pooling, you are guaranteed to be neither a success nor a failure." Coming at it like, well, obviously I'm hugely successful because of my acumen. That's what he's saying right there.
Yes.
He's saying like, oh, you crappy owners out there can't fail now. And that drives me so crazy because he's the worst owner ever. And if it weren't for those built-in advantages, he would have failed a long time ago. If he owned the Hornets and not the Knicks, he would have failed 15 years ago. So how dare you have the gall at saying like, oh, this is just so crappy owners cannot protect themselves from failure. And it's like, you are so out of, that is so crazy. That's such a way of like disguising your own selfish statements and behaviors. In fact, it's projection. Be like, this is my safety net preventing me from failing.
Yes.
And then saying, you guys are just scared of being able to fail. It's like, no, that's not it there, Jimmy.
It also, this is good for the league. The
That's great for
revenue
the league.
sharing is good for the league because what you don't want actually is teams closing their doors because they're running out of business. The New Orleans Jazz ceasing to exist is bad for business. You know, it's a bad look when you're losing franchises because you can't make money. Is this a redistribution of wealth? Absolutely. Do people have a problem with that all over our country? Absolutely. Is this good for the league? 100%.
Well, it's because the league is not a circus anymore. It's a soap opera.
Correct.
And yes, you operating as a circus because you can sell tickets for whatever you want every night, and you've got a regional sports network in the biggest city in the country, is a huge advantage for the circus. Yes, this circus is going to be more successful in New York City than it will be in Topeka, Kansas. That's duh.
Right. Yeah.
Like, duh. But what the NBA has evolved into is it's no longer a traveling circus. It is a soap opera. It is something that you consume on TV. You like the drama of the standings, and you like the drama of suspensions and injuries and coaching and all the things like we all do when we sit down and watch the NBA on TNT and waste a whole night of our week, every single week, watching back-to-back games with Charles and Kenny in the middle, even if your team is not playing, because we all get wrapped up in it. And local Utah sports radio bozos are talking about the Lakers and Bronny James and Brooklyn and Charlotte and the stupid James Dolan, because we all love the soap opera.
Yeah.
It has become a TV show. It is no longer a circus. And he's complaining about that because it takes away his built-in advantage. But here's the thing. He's going to make more money. He's just going to lose his regional sports network.
Yeah. And look, this is something we have talked about. The Lakers are going to be mad about this. This is not good for the Lakers. This is not good for the Knicks. This is not good for maybe the Chicago Bulls.
I would argue the Lakers and the Knicks. I'd argue those two teams, that's it.
You're right. It's probably just the two of those. Because as we mentioned last week, we talked about it quite a bit, the Clippers need this. The Clippers don't make any money.
The Clippers would be complaining with Jim Dolan if they weren't so stupid.
Yeah.
If they weren't so dumb.
Right. And you mean in how they've run their organization now for 40 years.
Right. They could get a regional sports network to give them all sorts of. They gave that the bird and decided to go internal, which was a huge catastrophe because nobody likes the Clippers.
But it's good for the 28 other teams.
Well, yeah, and it is good for the Clippers. But yeah, it's bad for the Lakers.
This very much reminds me of the scene in semi-pro when they're playing, the Flint, Michigan Tropics are playing in the ABA. And he learns that the ABA is going away, and he just expects automatically that the Flint, Michigan Tropics are going to the NBA. And he's screaming about making it the NBA without reading any of the fine print of realizing that, oh, no, only 4 teams are going. And it's like, the Indiana Pacers or whatever these original teams are.
The Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, but it's like, it's the Spurs. It's like exactly, though, this conversation. This is an old story. This is not new. This is, everyone wants to get into past the finish line. The NBA now is past the finish line, and it has been for a long time. But when you have this type of national investment, you're right. And there is a little bit of an anti-competitiveness to this where if everyone's making money, who cares?
Well, the long and short of it is if the Timberwolves sell for $500 million because they don't have the revenue and are going out of business, that makes the Knicks worth less.
Yes. It's good for everybody.
If the rising, the whole point of this, and we've said this a lot, the whole point of this is the most safe, lucrative place for billionaires to park their money, professional sports.
Yeah.
Like you put in $2 billion, well, you're going to be able to take out $4 billion in 10 years' time. There's not another investment that can do that for you. Professional sports is that. But if franchises start going out of business or start being sold for a fraction of that, it brings that return down.
Volatility is bad.
Right. But Jim Dolan is too dumb to realize that. And his franchise is going to be worth $1 zillion no matter what.
It's not volatile at
So
all.
that's what I was saying in our tease to this segment, is that from his perspective, it makes a ton of sense. But he's very short-sighted.
He's the one-off.
And very selfish.
What is 2 parts to this that are interesting? One, he's been a terrible owner. So for him to say, like, we're the haves and you're the have-nots
is offensive.
Very funny because, yes, the Knicks have been a joke for so long. But also, getting back to the ownership aspect of it, where if everyone's making money, who cares? You better have an owner who wants to win and cares about that and doesn't just want to park their money and see their investment grow for the next decade. Because that will be the difference. He's right. Selling jerseys is going to matter more than wins for some owners who just want to make money and don't care if their team is ever competitive.
Except for, what's funny is that's totally a dumb statement because all the jersey sales are pooled.
Are pooled as well.
They're all pooled
right,
and have been pooled for a long time.
Absolutely. But there are going to be owners who don't care about winning because they are getting fat and happy off of this, and the product day to day for them does not matter, because as long as the paychecks keep coming in for the New York Knicks and the Lakers, that money will be redistributed to some of these lesser teams that don't actually care. So the advantage of having an owner who cares and is invested in winning and is going to want that part of it is going to matter. I would argue, though, that has been the case for a long time.
All right, stay tuned. We'll wrap things up coming up right around the corner. It's the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The NBA has agreed to our financial demands, but there is
You're right, Mom. Destiny. Oh, I'm so happy I can't even feel my arms.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody! Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two niggas on the airways, talking sports. They got him made Jackson on soul. Loves his tie-dye, Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my. From the islands to the basketball courts.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about Lumen Technologies. Your life moves fast. Quantum fiber internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. QuantumFiber.com. That's QuantumFiber.com. We're just seeing on the mouse that Brandon Ayuk is requesting a trade from the Niners. Not a surprise.
Which, we're getting close to the season starting, and you're trying to get your deal renegotiated. You a 49ers fan, Christian?
No,
Oh,
not in
thank
particular.
goodness.
I'm a huge NFL fan, but not necessarily
Not a 49ers guy.
Do you have a team?
I'm a Broncos guy,
Oh,
unfortunately.
worse.
Yeah.
Absolutely worse. Well, at least we know the Broncos are going to stink. That's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the 49ers can't pay everybody.
Yeah, you can't.
It was either Ayuk or Samuel, right? Looks like they're going to pick Samuel.
Debo, yeah.
Because they re-up. Did they re-up Kittle and McCaffrey? I know they re-up McCaffrey. Their problem is they still have a crappy quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can have all these guys when Brock Purdy's making $84,000, plus bonuses. And he still isn't getting paid yet, right? He's still a couple years out from having to get paid, but he will get paid starter level money at some point, and then you're really going to lose a lot of these guys.
Then they'll have to cut all these guys.
And then the ultimate irony is you can always bet on that and bet on that and bet on that, and then you run into Patrick Mahomes. It's like, oh, that's why they paid him.
Yeah, well, I would
why the
argue that there are
quarterback
just so many. There are only maybe one or two quarterbacks that are actually worth the type of money that quarterbacks are getting, but that's not how the NFL works, where it's this, well, this guy got this, so I get this,
Right.
because it's my turn, and then all of a sudden things get out of whack.
Well, and the franchise tag makes that interesting, too, because it gives you the average salary. So even if you're terrible, you can get franchise tagged and make the average money. So, of course, you're going to negotiate above the franchise tag, so you get a bunch of overpaid guys.
Way overpaid. But, Patrick Mahomes is worth every dollar they can give him.
Correct.
I would argue that there's maybe only one or two of those guys, but yet every year we see whoever the best quarterback is that happens to be up for a renegotiation get to be the highest paid quarterback.
Get the record-breaking
Like
money.
the fact that Dak Prescott makes the money that he makes is ludicrous. And he's up for a renegotiation, right? He's going to make even more. I mean, you are a Kirk Cousins hater. I'm not as much, but I mean the fact that he's made as much money in his career is pretty crazy.
Yeah, continues to make as much as he has is insane.
He's not that good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I always bring up the ultimate example in my mind was Joe Flacco and the Ravens won the Super Bowl. He got paid immediately after. They picked like one or two guys that they could actually take care of and then left the rest of the team, let them go.
Yeah.
And then it was a complete rebuild job, next thing you know.
So good luck, Brandon Ayuk,
I guess.
wherever you end up. Probably still with the 49ers.
At least for next year, because they really don't have to. I mean, the players in the NFL have such little leverage. I mean, yeah, you can request a trade, but what are you going to do?
I'm excited. I'm excited for football. It feels like it's close. I know you are a huge PS5 guy, so you bought the early edition of the NCAA video game yesterday, and you were playing. I can see you've got Band-Aids on your thumbs because you've
I think the last
calluses through them.
Honestly, I think the last PS, that's PlayStation, right?
PlayStation.
That I bought was the Deuce.
The 2.
The 2. What are we up to now?
5.
How often do they come out? Like once every 4 or 5 years?
What, maybe once a decade?
I'd say probably 8 years-ish.
Yeah. I mean, when did you buy the 2?
I don't know, it had to be like turn of the century.
Yeah, right. So it's 25 years later, and we've got 3. And PlayStation 5's been out for 5 or 6 years now, so 4 or 5 years. So yeah, it's probably every 6 or 7. You get the new generation.
How does the Deuce hold up?
Well, wired controllers is a thing of the past. You don't have to sit within 4 feet of the console anymore because that's as long as the cords go.
Well, how well
There's no memory cards anymore. They got rid of memory cards, which you probably still using on the Deuce, right?
Oh yeah,
It's it's like 32 megabytes.
I feel like the having to sit right next to the television was like a rite of passage.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Like having the TV right up in your grill because the
Feel
controller,
the warmth of the TV.
'cause the controller was only 1.5 feet long. I felt like that's how you had to.
I had some good times with Madden 04 or whatever it was.
You're telling me you could actually sit on the couch a comfortable distance away from the television to play video games? That's ridiculous.
Really far away.
Fighting with your brother over who plugs into player 1 and player 2.
I wonder if there's a direct connection with TVs getting bigger because you can sit so far away from them now to play video games. Like, you didn't need a 70-inch TV when you were sitting 2 feet away from it.
Yeah, with that,
you couldn't see the whole screen.
With that tube that was probably giving you
cataracts.
At least.
At least. Not a suntan.
I was going to say like nuclear wasters, or what am I looking for? Radiation.
Radiation poisoning. But now you can sit 15 feet away, but I can't see what my tight end's doing 15 feet away, so I need a much bigger TV.
Exactly.
Or I need the virtual reality headset.
I mean, if Sub-Zero is freezing some dude's face, I got to be
able to see it.
Got to be right there.
I want to see his body break in half.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to feel it.
Are video games still violent? Is that still a thing?
More than ever. But like that type of game, like the Mortal Kombat is died off. We did, while you were gone, Mitch and I did a video game draft for our What You Got Wednesday.
Just blood everywhere.
I think Mitch beat me. I'd have to go back and look.
Well, he strikes me as a much bigger video game.
Well, he bought the game. He bought the NCAA game yesterday.
Jake, we had some controversy, actually. Maybe you can help us settle that. So
yeah.
Mitch took Mario with his first overall
round.
pick.
We did franchise, or I mean, you could do individual game, but if you drafted Mario, you got all of Mario.
Okay.
And then Ben wanted to take Mario Kart later in the draft, and I vetoed that, and there was some pushback on Twitter. What do you think?
Is there a difference between Mario, like the side scroller, Mario 3, etc., and Mario Kart? Or if you get one, you get
No,
all?
Mario Kart's in the franchise. I agree that they're different games, sure.
Okay.
But so is like Mario 1, 2, 3.
I let myself be vetoed. I didn't fight for myself.
Yeah, no, we can't spin that off.
I mean, I can.
That's
tried.
That's like saying that Frasier has nothing to do with Cheers. I mean, it's...
So if you draft Cheers, you get Frasier?
Yes.
Bull. Baloney.
Is Frasier in both shows, or isn't he?
He is in one of the shows. If I draft Frasier, do I get Cheers?
Yes.
Okay, you can go the other way around.
Sure.
Okay.
What was the second pick?
What did I take? Grand Theft Auto or something like that? We'd have to go back and look.
No Sonic?
Sonic did not get drafted.
What, no love for the Sega? I used to have the Genesis.
Yeah, so did I.
All right. God, I'm boring myself talking about video games. Why are we talking about this?
Because we did the draft of it. Here was the draft order for video games. Mitch went Madden. No, I went Madden, so I got Madden second. Madden, Grand Theft Auto, Mortal Kombat, to your point, Super Smash Brothers, and GoldenEye, which you strike me as a GoldenEye guy.
I remember. That was right in the heyday.
And then Mitch went Mario, Call of Duty, Halo, 2K, and Tetris. And I think Mitch won. Anyways.
All right. Well, Hans and Scotty are coming up next. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Jake and Ben, 97.5,
Thanks, Christian.
the KSL Sports Zone.